Good evening.
Good
Welcome to
evening.
Oromo Affairs on Oromo TV. My guest tonight is Saraswati Singh, and she's running for the Hennepin County of Minnesota's attorney. Welcome to the show, and thank you for accepting my invitation, Saraswati.
Oh, thank you so much, Ace. I'm so excited to be here.
How's your day today? Is the last day of campaigning almost, right?
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
still campaign tomorrow until 8 p.m., I believe.
And we have a busy day tomorrow, but it's my whole family is helping with the campaign. My parents flew in, my mom took off unpaid from work. She works at a nursing home. She's a nursing aide. And my whole family and our volunteers, we've been dropping off pamphlets. We were
Right.
door knocking, but then we were like, okay. And we originally were planning on to do our initial batch, but we ran out so quickly. So we did a second batch. So it's been good, but um, also just a lot of work.
For sure, for sure. I hope you win so that way you and your family and your friends, for all this effort you guys are putting in, you guys can have a big celebration at the end.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, we're
When you
gonna.
do win,
Mhm.
do not forget about Oromo TV, the Oromo
Yeah.
Affairs Show. So we hope to contribute as much as we can into your success and also our audiences. As usual, you guys know how it goes. When the show starts, you guys welcome my guests with a big likes, big shares, and big subscribing, and also ask her big questions. And I will post up the questions as usual here, and I'll ask her the questions, any questions you guys have. So let's get going. Saraswati, what does the Hennepin County Attorney do?
Sure. So the Hennepin County Attorney is the top prosecutor for Minneapolis and the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
So it includes not just Minneapolis, even though we often talk about just Minneapolis. It
Right,
includes North Minneapolis, Eden Prairie, Plymouth, just a whole big area. So it's about
right.
1.3 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And what does a prosecutor do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they charge cases. So when a crime happens, who decides what to charge? It's the top
Mm-hmm.
prosecutor, the Hennepin County attorney in Hennepin
Mm-hmm.
County. And we do things like jury trials. If you're a victim, we work with you. We'll sometimes ask to put you on the stand when we have sentencing. So you're in front of a judge arguing for what sentence a defendant should get.
Mm-hmm.
It's the top prosecutor that's advocating, saying, I want this amount of time in prison, or I want this treatment, or the victim feels this thing, and we want you to do what the victim
Right.
says. So it's a very important job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a prosecutor. I worked in Hennepin County for years, so I know the people, the places, and the courtrooms. But I'm currently a prosecutor in Ramsey County, and I handle murder cases, sexual
Mm-hmm.
assault, carjacking, domestic assault, everything in between. Um, and many of the victims in my cases are immigrants, refugees, people that don't speak English. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
do jury trials with an interpreter so that victims that don't speak English have access to justice too. But that's a newer
Mm-hmm.
thing that we've been doing.
For
And so
sure.
this is really important because the Hennepin County attorney can really has a lot of power over what cases to prosecute and whether to advocate for victims that are immigrants.
For sure. For sure. Well, that is a good answers you gave me. Really, really good answers. So even according to I think this was from
Oh yeah.
NPR. They're saying the Hennepin County Attorney is the final word on who is charged with crime, what crime, and what sentence is recommended. That's exactly what you gave me for the answer. I appreciate you for that. So I have a question for you
Mhm.
regarding the current uh, Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman. To me, he looks like he just goes into his office and he sleeps for 24 years. He's been doing that. When his best friends come and knock on the doors to do him some favors, it seems like he wakes up and he does favor for them. So, what kind of attorney will you be in the office?
I'm very different from Mike Freeman.
How different? Please tell us, because there is. ton of people that went out and got signatures to have him resign, and he is well established. He's well established guy there. That's why he
Yeah.
was able to sleep for 24 years.
And honestly, I was waiting for him to retire because it's hard to win against an incumbent.
Right.
And so many people, like you mentioned, were signed to recall him. And
Mm-hmm.
so many people were unhappy, and yet still he stuck around for a while longer.
Right.
I'm different in a number of ways. One, I think my temperament. Um, Another thing is my campaign theme is community. My mom likes to say I'm the daughter of the community,
Right.
and that I'm like sunshine, that I'm going to help everyone grow and flourish.
For sure.
And I think that Mike Freeman is like the old style of prosecutor where he's tucked up high up in his office somewhere. You don't really see him unless he comes out for a press conference,
Right.
right? He's not really like just with the people, talking with them, seeing what's important to them, seeing what issues are happening, to see like, oh, if he rolls out a policy, talking with community members just on a regular day-to-day basis to see, is the
Mm-hmm.
policy working, is it doing what it's intended to do, or are there gaps or things that need to be changed?
Right.
um, i'm i'm an I'm just, I'm a collaborative leader, and I don't pretend to know all the answers. But I think a good leader is someone who knows their strengths, but also knows what other people like the community offer, and know that I can do my job better if I'm listening to people, right?
Right.
Right? People with different perspectives, different experiences, people that, I wear a suit and people treat me differently in the courtroom than when
Right.
I'm wearing my regular clothes and walking out in the street, right?
For sure.
But people are beginning to recognize me now, especially since my billboards went. But I
Mm-hmm.
want to know how the prosecutor, how the victim advocate, how the officer, how all these different people that are supposed to care about you are interacting with the Oromo community. Are
Mm-hmm.
they treating you the way that you should be treated, or are they not? And
Right.
I think it's important for someone at the top to know, because people at the top, people will tell you all the things that you want to hear many
For
times.
sure.
It's not necessarily the truth, though.
100%. Uh, you touched a little bit on how you are a community person, how you are a diverse person, and Hennepin County is the most diverse place in Minnesota. And I'm guessing you're from India with your name. That adds a lot to the diversity there.
Yeah, I'm the daughter of Indian immigrants. My grandfather came here over, I think, yeah, about many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Where my family's from a poor village in northeast India, Bihar. It's a
Mm-hmm.
farming community.
That's where
And
Gandhi is from, isn't it?
yeah, actually, he was
And that's
part of Gandhi's movement, the nonviolence
that's
movement.
the exact spot.
Yeah.
I studied in India. I know a little bit about India.
This is just so impressive. There's so few people that I've
It's
talked to that
it's
know
my
this.
third favorite country in the world.
Oh, what are your first three? Or
My
first two?
first two,
Yeah,
of course, Oromia, the place that gave me birth,
yeah.
was number one. And this is the flag behind me. And I don't know what Ethiopia is. I'm not from Ethiopia. I don't know where that place is. But I'm Oromia. Oromia is a country. That's how we believe. And that's what we're fighting now. That's why Ethiopia is in a bloodshed, because it's kind of program put on us. Everybody wants independence out of there. But that's different story. Well, when it comes to India, yeah, I studied abroad in India and I speak a little bit of Hindi. Hindi bolo tori tori.
Wow.
Yeah, मेरा नाम ऐसा है.
Yeah. Oh my
तुम्हारी क्या नाम है?
goodness. Both hacha sabole chua. I don't know if I use the correct grammar. My family, we speak Hindi and we also speak Methali. Methali is
Uh-huh.
the language, I think like 26 million people speak it in Bihar. Um,
Right.
and I grew up with Hindi and Methali at home, so I don't know if some of the words are like part of Hindi or Methali, but it's, yeah, a
So
mixture.
when I went to India, I liked the Gandhi.
Yeah,
But when I left India, I liked Nehru more.
Mm. My grandfather knew both of them actually.
Yeah,
And we have a book signed by Nehru.
that's what's
Um,
up. Nehru was awesome. I think he was well-rounded leader.
mhm.
Gandhi
Yeah.
might just be just too innocent to me, in my perspective.
Mm.
He was just starving himself for many years after many years. At the end of the day, India fought to get their independence. So
Mm.
that's why Nehru more kind of came on top for me when I left. By the time I left India, but there are also a whole bunch other impressive characters like Indira Gandhi and everybody else was pretty awesome. And I went into her museum, her house where she was shot. Yeah, all that stuff was impressive. India is a very impressive country.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you though to have that impressiveness to be in Hennepin County.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be the first woman of color. I'll probably be the first person of color and definitely the first Indian person in the office. It's pretty exciting and like going to parades and seeing like little kids that are because my we did the Edina parade. My parents, my mom was born in India and my dad grew up there, and so my dad was holding one side of our banner and my mom was holding the other side, and they
Mhm.
were walking behind me in the parade and seeing all these little kids like, some of them uh, just all different backgrounds, and some
Right,
of them they had immigrant parents, and like seeing their eyes, so some of them like their eyes got so big and I was like, oh wow, growing up I didn't see anyone that even looked remotely close to
for
me,
sure, for
and
sure,
then to see like the looks of the little kids that look like how I looked when I was a kid, it was just, I don't know, it gets me a little emotional because hopefully I change things even from just running.
for sure, for sure. You will inspire many for sure.
Oh,
For sure, you will. At first, I didn't even know. I was just, when I decided to interview Hennepin County candidates, Hennepin County
yeah.
attorney candidates. At first, I was just interviewing whomever I see on the media out there doing more campaigns. And then I interview Paul. I liked him. Tad Jude. I'd like Pa more now because Pa Moore kept his word. He kept his promises more. So I know he'll keep those promises more when he goes into the office if he starts keeping them now. So I like Pa, and I hope by the time I get off of this show, you might replace Pa. So we'll see.
I'd like to do
Um,
that.
so a little bit you touched it on this position in regards to the immigrants. So can we just elaborate a little bit on that, like immigrants and immigrant refugees and everybody also in the Hennepin County? Particularly, this question is important to me and many other countries around the world, especially a country like Oromia, who's in civil war with Ethiopia, who wants to get their independence because Ethiopia is going to start prosecuting our people, and it's going to trickle all the way down to Hennepin County. And it happens in Ramsey County, where by the influence of the Ethiopian government, they came arrested 3 individuals, and it took us time to get a voice, to get attention from the county attorneys. But how will you be? Can you touch on how this position impact immigrant communities, and if we can count on you? Is your office going to be accessible during those times when we need you?
Yeah, my office is going to be accessible. One of the things that I plan on doing, it's on my website too, is create a community liaison position.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I want to be in the community myself. I don't want to
Sure.
just be going through other people because things get lost in translation too.
Right.
And like you've been teaching me more about Oromo and the Civil War, right? Like
Right. For
those are
sure.
things that I have cases from many different
Right.
immigrant communities, and as part of my cases I learn about different parts of the world, different cultures, because so many times I'll have in a case like a defendant will say, oh no, no, that's part of our culture to do sexual assault, it's part of our
Mm.
culture to assault blah blah blah, and then it's like, no it isn't. But you
Right.
have to go and talk to the communities, like,
Talk to that victim. That's right.
yes, and where they'll tell you. And
Exactly.
also, I'm the only Indian person in my division, but for example, there was a Hmong prosecutor, and I once
Mm-hmm.
had a Hmong case, and that I went to that Hmong prosecutor to ask, what is the culture really like? So it's
Mm-hmm.
helpful to have people that are representative of the victims that you see. And I would love to hire folks from the Oromo community too, because who
For
best to
sure.
advocate than yourselves, right?
Exactly. We got great lawyers,
Yeah,
great
exactly.
community organizers. You'll have a highly qualified pool of candidates coming out of there.
And so, if anyone here is watching and is a lawyer or interested in going to law school or in law school right now, or even just in high school, please reach out to me.
For
Um,
sure.
I, I have my email on my website, and we respond. So please,
For sure.
a big thing that I do is mentor, because
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be here where I'm at unless all these people helped me, because I didn't even know how to become a lawyer. There
For
were no
sure.
lawyers in my
For
family.
sure.
And I didn't know what a prosecutor was really. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I had the idea from TV, but I didn't know all the steps it took, what your job really meant, or like just all these nuances. And I learned from other attorneys who explained how to get the job, what it means,
Mm-hmm.
the things that are important, how to be good at it, and also
Right.
how to change it. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain idea of justice,
Right.
but for a long time, I don't think it's really been very victim centered, and I think it
Mm-hmm.
really needs to be. Because sometimes you have so many cases, it becomes like this conveyor belt, especially in bigger counties like Hennepin, right? Where the prosecutors have so many cases that you can sometimes lose focus that why are you doing this in the first place? It's
Right.
for the victims, right?
For
And
sure.
many victims are scared. Like I've worked with refugees who are like, is this going to impact like my visa or my like, are people going to try to use this? Is like the federal government going to come after me? Are you going to try to like hurt me? And I say, no, no, no. This is what my job is, and I care about you. What you happened to you is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And today it's you, but it might be someone else that's an American citizen. But
For sure.
frankly, the citizenship doesn't matter. The person committed a crime here on US soil, here in Hennepin County,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when I'm Hennepin County attorney, it's going to be in Hennepin County. And I have to hold that person accountable. They can't do
Right.
that, right? But you have to not just say it, but also show to people that you care
Mm-hmm.
and explain over and over again different ways,
Right.
and also connect them to resources. So many people don't know we have a victim advocate unit. And that's one of the many things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because my mom, she doesn't speak English well. And so growing up, I would have to translate. And
So as many Oromos.
yeah,
All of our parents,
yeah.
I can see that.
And I saw like people treated my mom so poorly. They still do. She doesn't speak English well. And actually, at work where she works, they don't believe that her daughter's a lawyer. Um,
Right.
and because people just assume that if you don't speak English as your first language, not everyone, but many people, they act like you're stupid, like you're not smart. And that's not it at all. It's just that English isn't your first language. Um, and so I want to make sure that we have people that speak different languages, um,
For sure.
that are prosecutors and victim advocates, and know like how to treat you, not to treat you like the way my mom's been treated all of her life here. Am I freezing up or is that
It's
you?
internet interception.
Is it?
Yeah, you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you
Yes,
hear me
now I
now?
can. Yes. Okay, I lost your voice again. Should I wear one of these headsets? Would that help? Or I can try using my phone. Okay. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties, as you can tell. I'm going to check my phone to see if Ace is messaging me about what to do. Okay. Apply all. Okay, I'm going to leave the show and come back.
Hey, so sorry about that. The Wi-Fi disconnected there. I had to wait for it to reconnect.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah,
okay.
so
It's,
sorry about that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We were having a good conversation and suddenly it started freezing up on me.
It's okay. I think we all take turns during the pandemic with tech issues.
Even the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Even the Wi-Fi. We were just talking about how this position impact immigrant communities, and you were just closing that up.
Yeah.
So if you can just close that up and then we continue.
Sure. So if you live here and you ever are a victim of a crime, that's when it really becomes important to
Hmm.
have a Hennepin County attorney that cares about you in your case and is willing to charge the perpetrator and to take you seriously and willing to take the time to get an interpreter to talk with you if
For
needed.
sure.
So all those things that our justice system traditionally hasn't done, but it
Mm-hmm.
can you can make big changes by electing someone who's the daughter of immigrants and
For
just
sure.
understands that aspect and how many times we're forgotten.
For sure. I appreciate you for that, and sorry again for the Wi-Fi cut. Also for the audiences, um, now we're getting toward like the middle of the show. So in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna take questions from you guys. So write the best comments, the best questions you can for Saraswati, and we'll ask her those questions. And there is one disturbing thing about one of the candidate for Hennepin County Sheriff, especially Martha Holton. Basically, for the July 4th fireworks and all the fun people were having, some of them were crime. She approves Mike Rainville of his city council, and he blames it on the Somali community. Kind of, he says, I'm going to go into the mosque and talk to them to maintain their kids. And the youth from the community follow her up. And one of the youth that follow her up is Oromo. And we're trying to make peace in the East Africa. And Somalis are our neighbors. We work with them. They're our partners. And it's kind of disappointing for her to have that kind of opinion. And this is the opinion she had. She was basically applauding. And basically, I'm just going to take your take on that.
Martha, I have a question. Yes. If you wouldn't mind answering. I overheard your conversation with Rainbow.
Right.
And you said, I am so proud of what you said the other day.
I always think of the same thing.
You know what?
He said, thank you.
You know what he said? He said what a lot of people are doing.
Whoa!
Okay.
So basically, him going into the religion, not all Somalis are the same, blaming on the whole Somali race. She's saying that's what everybody's thinking. Are you thinking that way too, or not? Just separate yourself from her. You get.
No, so Martha Holton Dimmick is running for Hennepin County Attorney, just like I am.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a former judge. And she said at a forum earlier this year that she was using certain language calling immigrants rapists and murderers.
Right.
And actually, one of my mentees interned for her and is from Zimbabwe and was so horrified that someone that she worked for was talking about immigrants that way.
Right.
And there's so many immigrants here in Hennepin County. Like, how can you see us that way? We're just like everyone else. We're human just like everyone else. We're not less. And to say like, oh, we're all rapists and murderers, I don't believe that at all. And we're not all inherently violent either.
Right.
And with Michael Rainville, he said there were fireworks, and there were some people that around midnight, I believe, shot some fireworks toward condo buildings, which is not okay.
Right.
But I didn't see any evidence presented that said that it was Somali folks only that were doing it. And then he said he was going to go to a Somali mosque outside of Michael Rainville's district and tell those leaders, kind of in basically a condescending way, like, get a hold of your kids. You need to stop it. Even though I didn't see any evidence that any of the people that were there went to that mosque. I mean, what a stretch. We're not all the same. Right. And then two, it happened at the end of Somali week, which my campaign was there. We were out celebrating, I believe, Target 3M. I mean, it was just a wonderful festival with people from all different African countries, but all over the world there celebrating. I mean, I didn't see Martha Holton Dimmick's team there, but or Rainville, but I was there. Other candidates running for other positions were there. And it was wonderful. And so to cap off Somali Week that way, I think it was intentional. And to try to it was a joyous week. And at US Bank Building that night, he had another event later on where he was talking, where you showed the video.
For
But
sure.
there, I believe it was that night that U.S. Bank, not U.S., but where the Vikings play, they had
Right.
this
It is US
big
Bank. Yeah.
Muslim event, and it was
The Eid
peaceful and
prayers.
beautiful. Yes,
Super
exactly.
Eid.
Yeah, and we saw. Actually, my team was out canvassing and meeting, and so we were meeting all these Somali women, men, children, all happy,
Right.
and joyful and peaceful. And then meanwhile, Michael Rainville was making these comments, and Martha Holton Dimick said, "Oh, he's saying what we're all thinking." That's wrong. It's just
Right.
wrong. It's not true. And it's trying to kind of equate this idea that we have in America that black is bad. That's not
Right.
correct.
For sure.
That's not correct. And you have to look at each person individually, and you have to examine the evidence in each case. You can't just lump us all together and pretend, oh, I just, sorry, it makes me so upset because I'm the daughter of immigrants.
Right.
And like things like this happen all the time to my family where people are like, oh, you're bad, or oh, but if we're ever victims, oh, it's in your head, it's not real. And it's unacceptable. And
For
sometimes I'm
sure.
like, how do people not see it? How do people not see this?
For
Right? The
sure.
contradiction and how it's not fair. It's not
Sure.
right. You have to, uh, I'm going to
I,
stop
I
there.
know I know why she's doing what she's doing. She
What?
she's endorsed by the mayor. She's endorsed by the DFL party, right? She's endorsed by everybody in the establishment. So she feels like she's gonna ride that train, the old train. So she's not bringing any new change. I think she's gonna take Mike Freeman's pillow and she's gonna sleep there for 24 years if she could.
She is actually endorsed by Mike Freeman.
Right? But everybody big in the Democratic Party endorsed her, so she's throwing comments around and just about to go serve the establishment, and she's not going to bring any new change, I think.
I just want to emphasize I'm different than Martha Holton Dimick. I'm
For
just,
sure. In many ways, you're different. What are your priorities if you win?
public safety, that's huge.
For
I
sure.
think some people think that immigrants don't care about public safety, but we live here too.
For
We go
sure,
to
we do.
school here, we go to work here. My dad worked the night shift at the post office for years. It's important to have a safe society so you feel comfortable going to the mosque, going to the temple, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and go doing things that a regular person does. And I handle murder cases, sexual assault. I mentioned carjackings as well. During the pandemic, my caseload quadrupled. And it's just, you have to hold people accountable. And I think some people wonder, why has the crime increased? And there's multiple
Mm-hmm.
reasons for it. The court shut down multiple times for months at a time. We were having jury trials and jurors were getting COVID, or the judge, or the prosecutor, or the defense attorney. And for a jury trial, you need all 12 jurors to have a verdict. And so the court shut down and people were released, defendants were released. Um, and because defendants have a right to a trial. And so sometimes judges would release a defendant over the prosecutor's objection. And then some of those defendants would commit crimes while they were released. And then they were brought back. And then some folks were released again. This is not everyone, but like I think many things in life, it's a smaller group of people that keep doing things over and over again. And so I had cases where one
Right.
defendant had 7 or 8 cases. For my caseload, it was mostly car thefts, where someone was released and then they steal
Mm-hmm.
another car. And then they were released again and they'd steal another car, and they keep doing it. Also with domestic assaults, commit a domestic assault, released again, commit a domestic, and it undermines, like, people don't trust the justice system when people keep committing crimes and keep getting released. And so I think it's important. What I want to do is move prosecutors from the drug unit over to the violent crime unit so that we're addressing the murders and the carjackings and having those trials more quickly because we have enough prosecutors to take those cases to trial more quickly because we have a
Mm-hmm.
backlog from the last 2 years and there's some people that are out that shouldn't be. And I want to make sure the ones that are out that shouldn't be, we get them off the streets as quickly as possible. And the ones that treatment will be effective and the victims are on board with it, let's get them
Mm-hmm.
back in the treatment facilities because during the pandemic, we had all these treatment facilities that said, no, we're not accepting anyone because we're scared they're going to bring COVID in. It's the same thing that was happening all
Right.
around.
For
So
sure.
I think I'm very practical. I want things to work well. And I think you need to triage, right? Like any hospital triages, we need to triage when it comes to public safety. So we need to move the prosecutors over to the violent crime unit. We need to reduce their caseload so they're prepping their cases for trial. They're meeting with the witnesses because cases with victims, especially murder cases, they have it's a lot more evidence. It's a lot more work. We try to make it look effortless for you and
Right.
the jury and the public. But
Right.
meanwhile, we're watching through all this video. Much of it is not useful, but we're figuring out, okay, what video are we going to use? Oh, we need to get all these things tested. And
For
many
sure.
times there's no DNA or anything on certain results, but then, oh, we're like, oh, this one has the DNA, so we're going to present that,
Right.
so much evidence to parse through so that we can give you just present you what's relevant,
Right.
but it just takes so much work. So I want to make sure our office is spending its time where it really matters and where the community really needs it.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah.
For sure. Now, let me check some comments from the audiences, and I will trust says, welcome to you.
Hmm.
And Nuguma Bati, he was very upset with Mike Freeman. He's one of those people going around and having signs and to remove Mike Freeman must be, but it didn't work out for him. So unfortunate. But Nuguma, you should be happy because Mike's Freeman days they're numbered. So it's about 2 months, 2.5 months. We can wait that long. We handle him for 24 years. So AJ Oromo says we need young leaders. I feel like we are updating to the newest version of iPhone. I think many people can relate to her. So he's relating to you. So that's awesome there. And Osman says welcome.
Thank you.
And he says Abdul also says well done to me and for being voice for the voiceless people. And Saraswati will be the lawyer for the people with no lawyer.
Yeah. Thank you.
So he named himself Facebook user.
Hmm.
That's an interesting name. He's asking you what is your main objective goal in Hennepin County, especially for immigrants and refugees, those with language barriers. I think you highlighted that very well. You are going to have a community liaison there, and you're going to do the interpretations and all of that. So you want to quickly re-highlight that. I think that is very strong, and that's what really the community needs from you.
Sure. So I'm going to hire someone for the community liaison, so connecting with the community. But frankly, I want to hire prosecutors. And if I'm not finding any, to mentor people, like including from the Oromo community, so that we have you in the pipeline so we can hire you within the
Sure.
office so that you can connect with immigrants and refugees. And
Hmm.
many of the victims in my cases are immigrants or refugees. And so they don't speak English or English isn't their first language. So training frankly all the prosecutors, that's I'm a big fan of training because I've gotten special training that I've sought out and it's been so valuable. But
For
making
sure.
sure everyone, not just people that are like immigrants or daughter of immigrants, but everyone knows, okay, look, you can do jury trials with interpreters. Many people don't know that. And this
Right.
is the best practices and this is how you do it. And we are having officers that they use their cell phone and they call the interpreter when someone calls 911. So when they're at the scene talking with someone that's not speaking English can have their voice heard and explained to an officer who can then say, oh, I should go collect this evidence. Oh, I should go talk to this person. Oh, I should arrest this person. So I think really like training folks so that they know what resources we already have so that we can more effectively advocate for the immigrant and refugee community, whether they're a prosecutor or they're an officer. Yeah, does that answer it?
I think that answers it very well. And
Okay.
you touched it in great detail to earlier. And also, we'll close on another one with something similar to that. Ali Adam, he asked you if you're Oromo like 4 or 5 times. So he's really excited. And you can answer it yourself.
I wish I was a Romo. I've been asked that many times because I lived in Cedar Riverside for many years, actually, and just around the area. But I'm the daughter of Indian immigrants. My family's from Bihar. And actually, my grandfather came here to the United States when he became a UN ambassador after the
Hmm.
nonviolent peaceful movement where they overthrew the British colonizers. So he
Hmm.
would lay on railroad tracks and get arrested for it because
Sure.
the British used the trains to transport munitions and food for soldiers. And so it was a peaceful way to stop the British from using their troops to control and occupy India. But he
For sure.
came here in the United States, and that's how my family ended up here.
For sure. Very similar stories to Oromos.
Yeah.
There were oppressors in India and there were oppressors in Oromia. Through fighting, through unity, through not giving up, you'll see a better day.
Hopefully so.
Let's talk about why the primaries is important. Those are the most meaningful questions I can see from the comments. Row 5 is saying and keep it up. So keep it up the fight. You will win. If you don't win this year, run it again.
Oh, I'm not even thinking that way. Tomorrow's the primary. I'm focused on that. Uh, it's
Sure.
so much work running. It's great, but it's the most difficult job interview I've ever had.
For sure. I think there's one more question came up. I think this question needs to be addressed. He's saying, I know he's a business owner, so he's a small business owner. He's saying, how can you help the immigrant community participate in creating a small business? I think you're a lawyer, so she will make the rules and regulations so fair to you, I bet. Um, but
Yeah.
she's not a legislator, so I don't think she can make any rules and regulations that can improve your business. But nobody should unfairly prosecute you, so or your business. Nobody should unfairly come after your business. Do you have my people's back
I
if they
do.
get unfairly prosecuted? If somebody comes after their business unfairly?
Yeah. Well, I my job as a prosecutor is to do justice. That's my
Mhm.
sole goal. So that is what I do. I evaluate each person in each case and the evidence in each case. So when it comes to your small business, if someone breaks into it, you become a victim of a crime, you need help, I will evaluate and make sure my office will evaluate and take you seriously and do the right thing. I can't
For
make
sure.
any promise without looking at all the evidence, but I
Right.
promise to just focus on doing the right thing and doing better than what other people have done.
For sure.
Um, and then the Hennepin County Attorney is not only the top prosecutor, but we also have a civil division. So making sure the process um, is fair and making changes. So even translating things to different languages and
Right.
making things accessible, because so many times there's resources that are available, but we don't take the time to explain and go to the community, say, hey, you can use this. This
For
will be
sure.
helpful to you. Or,
For sure.
oh, you're worried that there's higher crime in your neighborhood. What, you know, what can what can the county attorney's office or the police department do to make you and your customers feel safe so people feel safe going to your store? There's all sorts of things. And then when I'm Hennepin County attorney, I plan on advocating at the state legislature. I already do that. I actually, Governor Walz appointed me to the Council of Asian Pacific Minnesotans, where I
Hmm.
advocate for about 300,000 Asians here in Minnesota. Many are immigrants, many are refugees. Afghanis are actually under the Asia definition under our enabling statute.
For
And so
sure.
we advocate at the state legislature, and part of what we advocate for is economic justice, because
Hmm.
that's really important. Um, so I hope that
Yeah.
answers your question.
For sure. That's what County attorneys do actually, yeah, for sure. And especially, one other thing I wanted to touch on is the mosque gets a lot of threatening letters. So,
Yes, and actually, under public safety, one of the priorities I have is addressing hate crimes. I actually went to a national conference last year. There's hate crimes that have frankly always happened here in
mhm,
Minnesota, and they've happened to my good friend. Actually, her mom was pushed, and
mhm,
council members that I like, community leaders were getting threatened. And we've had like someone throw a Molotov cocktail at a mosque. I mean,
right,
things that are very dangerous and very targeted toward a particular religion or people that look different,
mhm,
right? And it's unacceptable. It's
for
just,
sure,
that's violence. That
right,
is violence. That's a threat to public safety, and that's unacceptable. And one of the things that I want to do is build up our hate crime unit. We don't have one in Hennepin
mhm,
County,
for
but these
sure,
crimes happen, and
all the
making sure
time,
we're training the prosecutors to know what the laws are. I've learned through doing my work, but I had to learn it. Like no one taught
for
me it.
sure,
And so I'm like, well, we should train all the prosecutors so we know what to look for. And when we see it, we know what to charge and what things to file. And we
right,
also need to train the officers, because I had an officer who didn't know. And she's like, oh, I never get trained, even though she was
right,
the victim of the hate. And she
right,
didn't know. I was like, yeah, you need to put that in your police report so the prosecutors know that we can file this notice to say, hey, this is worse than usual, and we can get other consequences. And
for
it's
sure,
just so important because people need to know you can't just use the N word. You can't just throw a Molotov cocktail at a mosque and
right,
treat it like it's just any other case. It's
for sure,
worse, it's more
for sure,
serious. You
right,
cannot do that.
right, for sure, for sure. Let's talk about, because we are toward the end of the hour too
Oh,
now, and we got a little internet interruption there. Let's talk about the voting tomorrow. Why primaries are important? Because growing up, primaries didn't make sense to me. It really took me a while to understand why primary is important. Why? I
well,
think you'll take your take on it. I think primaries are important because the party, the leaders of the party, without consulting the people, endorse people like Martha, who says Somalis are troublemakers, and everybody thinks that way. So to avoid candidates like that, that's why we have primaries, I think. Otherwise, Martha is just going to get endorsed by the mayor, by the party, by the current sitting attorney, Mike Freeman, and she's just going to, the system will never change. And the
so
people have a chance to make that change in the primary too, just like the general election. So, what's your take on that?
yeah. Um, so Martha Holton Dimick has been endorsed by the mayor, like you mentioned, and other party leaders. Mary has been endorsed by the DFL establishment. I'm not an establishment candidate, and what you said,
Right.
Ace, is exactly right. Going
Hmm.
through this process, it's very political, and
Right.
many people don't know. Only about 400 people actually voted in
Right.
the endorsement process.
Right.
Um, and that's true of every, like all these parties, whatever party you belong to, it's a very small group that endorses. It's not the community. It
Right.
tends to be like all these political folks, right? Who think,
Right.
oh, I think I'm going to pick the next winner, or I like this person because they're
Right.
going to help me. I always knew, my team always knew we were going to the primary because who votes in the primary?
The
It's
people.
you, it's the community.
Right.
It's not other people who think they know what's happening. It's you.
Right.
And like, immigrants, it's a hard time getting backed by the
Hmm.
establishment. We don't look the part, right? Or we don't, we're just different. And if you're
Right.
real and you're doing it for the right reason and you care,
For sure.
it's really hard. But I'm in it because I care. Like that's why I'm running. All these candidates, I've seen it throughout my life. People say the right things and they sound so fantastic. And then they get elected and I'm like, nothing's changed.
Nothing changed. They don't even answer your call. They don't respond
Yeah.
to your emails.
I'm like, you don't even answer even to tell me that you disagree. I'm like,
Right.
please listen, make some changes
For
because
sure.
how long do I have to wait? And I'm a prosecutor and the job's to be the top prosecutor. I used to work at the Minnesota Attorney General's office. I've been to 62 counties practicing. I've worked for the feds at the US Attorney General's office on civil rights cases. I've worked in Hennepin County itself for years. I know the sheriff's deputies. I know the folks running for sheriff. I have the experience to do the job, and I have the management experience to do the job, and I have the life experience to do the job. And the party doesn't always take the time to get to know every candidate. So that's why the primary is so important. Only two people, there's 7 candidates in the race, only 2 people will end up on the ballot in November. So
For
it's really
sure.
important that if you want to see me in November, if you want to have me as a choice, vote tomorrow.
For
Vote
sure.
on August 9th.
For
If
sure.
you are in the line by 8 p.m., you can vote in your district.
Up to 8 p.m. in your district, you can vote early in the morning, late in the afternoon, after lunch, after breakfast. You can even eat early dinner and go vote. So 8 p.m., that's the time you got to remember in Minnesota. 8 p.m. That's the time to vote in Minnesota. Last question. It's not really a question. Give me your top issues you're fighting for to close it in. So refresh the audience's memory. Top issues you're fighting
My
for
top
closing.
issue is public safety, but my
Mm-hmm.
other priorities are police accountability and racial
Mm-hmm.
equity. I've talked
Mm-hmm.
a bit about that. With the police accountability aspect, I think, you know, I have to follow all these rules as a lawyer. And if I
Mm-hmm.
don't do my job well, I can be suspended. So I think police officers, they need to be held accountable.
For
And who
sure.
holds the law, the people that enforce the law accountable? It's prosecutors. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying I'm going to do my job, right? Everyone is accountable under the law. Um, and I really emphasize training with police officers too. I don't want it to get to the level that we see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when it comes to racial equity, it's hiring people of all different backgrounds. I don't want to be the only daughter of immigrants in my division, right?
Right.
Like,
For sure.
I don't want to be the token person. And
Right.
there's all these folks that are well qualified, who's smart. We need you. If we want people to trust the justice system, if we want it to be more fair, we need as many good people from as many diverse backgrounds as possible so that people trust us to do the right thing in all of our cases.
For sure. For sure. Last question. I just don't want to leave this question out. I should have asked this question a little bit earlier, but I got interrupted with the internet. And the last question is this. The reason this Hennepin County seat been so important to me, and I wanted to interview literally all of you, is when something is wrong, you see it. When Derek Giovanni stepped on George Floyd's neck for almost 10 minutes, we all knew it was wrong, and we didn't understand why Mike didn't charge, knowing that Mike was, he's the final word on who's going to be charged. So knowing that was a crime, will you just charge the killer cop, or you just wait for the city to burn down like Mike did?
I was so upset by Mike Freeman, and I was on a text chain with prosecutors, and you know what we said after that press conference? Someone said the city's going to burn tonight
Right,
because Mike Freeman wasn't understanding this video. I
right,
handle murder cases. You
right,
don't always have video of the murder actually occurring.
right.
You had the full video. You
Mm-hmm.
had enough to charge, and the city burned because
Right,
people were like, what is this that our leader is not listening and understanding? Like, just they don't seem to be understand the gravity.
right,
This is why I'm running. I
right,
don't. You need a prosecutor who understands, who's connected to the community, is not scared to charge an officer who commits a murder.
right.
Like, you cannot wait for the city to burn. It's your
For
responsibility
sure.
as a top prosecutor to prosecute when you see a murder happen. Yes, including when it's a cop.
For sure. That is one of the best answers I heard. I asked that question so many people. That is by far one of the best answers I've heard when it comes to why Mike Freeman did not charge.
Thank you. I
Uh,
wish
oh,
he had charged earlier.
for sure. Amanda Gesso says, hi, he came in late. He asked us the same question AJ asked earlier. So, Aman, rewind it back. Also, share it, like it, subscribe to the show. And because we are at the end now. Saraswati, I really appreciate you for coming. And I couldn't really play your campaign video because my internet was acting up and the download didn't complete for me. I appreciate you for coming. I wish you the best tomorrow. And if you win, you'll come back again. Even if you don't win, come back again. And please do give attorney counseling and attorney advices to the Dubbii Oromoo and Oromoo TV. And we will disseminate to the East African community, especially, but the rest of the world has access to it too. But it's just that mostly East Africans watch this channel. And if you have any last word, please take anything you want to say. This is your last word. Say thank you to the community and everybody else, new people that you met. Let them know of your Facebook and Instagrams or anywhere else that they should follow. But when it comes to the website, this is our website. You guys can go to saraswatisingha.com. That's where the website is. And on that website, you guys can get all of our issues, what she cares about, what she's fighting for. You guys will get more details, contact, emails, and all of that is up there. So
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you, Ace, and everyone that's watching. I'm so grateful to the Oromo community. Please know that I see you, I value you, and I'm excited to continue engaging with you. I plan on winning, so please vote for me tomorrow, August 9th. And you can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Saraswati_MN. And please stay connected, and especially if you want to become a lawyer, be in the civil division or become a prosecutor, reach out to me. I was lifted up by other people, and I want to help lift you up too.
for sure. All you future inspiring lawyers, here is your counselor right in front of you, telling you I'll give you that service, counseling service, and she's successful. So if you want to be successful, Saraswati is the person you need to contact.